the last race of the season. Yes, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The longest season in F1, 24 whooping races, 24 whooping excitement, 24 whooping, oh, who wins the Constructors Championship? We all knew at the point that Max Verstappen was going to win Drivers' Championship. But the whole idea was, who wins the Constructors Championship? McLaren won the Constructors Championship. Supremely good. Norris just won it for them. If that's the only thing they can win this year. And he cemented his position as second. And what a jolly ride for McLaren this year. 26 years of wait. If na woman dey wait for 26 years, na another thing o. 26 years since 1998. That was the last time they won a Constructors Championship. The Drivers' Championship they've won were in the late 2000s and early 2010s, and they got it right. But the Constructors Championship had been eloping them. But this year, they did a great job, and Ferrari did a great job. Beautiful job, massive job by Ferrari, great competition by Red Bull, wonderful job by Mercedes towards the end of the season. Aston Martin did their part, Alpine did their part, Haas did their part, Williams, Sauber, VCAB. What a season it was for everybody. At the end, we had McLaren clinching 666 points. 666. To win the Constructors Championship in 2024, we had Ferrari 652 points. That is just 14 points adrift. In Qatar, they were 21 points adrift. Now 14 points, just 7 points beaten away. Red Bull, 589 points to clinch the third position. Mercedes came fourth, 468 points. While we had Aston Martin coming fifth, 94 points. 94 points. Alpine, 65 points to claim that huge bunch of money from Haas and VCAB. They really did a beautiful job right from Brazil. What a beautiful thing they were able to do, to conjure, to make sure they were able to cement that sixth position. Coming from Brazil with second and third, Pierre Gasly had pushed the team. It was like carrying the team on his head for the remaining part of the season. What a driver Pierre Gasly was for that team. I wonder why they won't just hold down onto him, because he did a tremendous job for them this season. Haas came seventh with all the struggles coming from last year. Everybody believing with Gunther Steiner going, how will Aya Komatsu do the job? But Aya Komatsu stepped up as an engineer and did a job of a manager. What a wonderful job he did to come seventh this year from last year, in which they took the last position. VCAB RB came 8th, 46 points, clinching the 8th position. What a driver Yuki Tsunoda was this year. He drove that team the best way he could, and he did a good job. Williams came 9th this year. They did a tremendous job, and that was a life-changing opportunity for their new team principal that came in last year, talking about James Vowles. And Kick Sauber took the only point of the season in which they had the 4 points through Zhou Guanyu last week in Qatar. The 4 points, and that is the only point they were able to take this season. Though the car improved, definitely a lot of improvement towards the last two races, but it was too late already. You know, you don't fight for something you've lost. They've lost it already. Too late to apologize, and that was how they were able to fall out of place. But what a race, what drivers we have this year. Quickly, let me give you a rundown of each drivers in Abu Dhabi. Lando Norris started on pole, did a tremendous job, was able to maintain that first position from the startup line. His teammate Oscar Piastri was knitting it close to him because they wanted to end first and second. Lando Norris did a good job today. He started fast and he was able to maintain the position. But unfortunately, Oscar Piastri too tried to knit it up with him, but Max Verstappen did Max Verstappen thing and took Oscar Piastri out, and Oscar Piastri went back to the back of the grid, right from second position, while Max Verstappen from fourth position went to around 10th position, and they had to start their race all over again. But Lando Norris, beautiful job, starting from pole, ended the race first. He did not leave that first position for 1 minute. He was there all through. He really proved that he could be a champion next season. But next season will be a very difficult task for McLaren, because I believe a lot of teams will develop. RB will develop. RB came third. They have more opportunity for development. Ferrari came second. They will have the second most limited opportunity to develop. Mercedes came fourth. They will have more opportunity for development. So the same time McLaren had last year, Mercedes are going to have this year to develop. So I think it's going to be a huge one for all these teams to develop next year and see what they can really bring into the competition next year, because I believe the next year competition will be a huge one. Very, very difficult one, but it's going to be more enjoyable, I believe. So even Alpine that are coming up, they are doing a tremendous job. So I believe it will be much more closely knitted. Also, to ask, wow, they did a beautiful job towards the end of the season, so they might have a good challenge next year. So that's for Lando Norris. Beautiful driving, and all through today, I think he did a perfect job. Carlos Sainz Jr., wow, Carlos Sainz started third. He was able to escape the turn one shenanigans from Oscar Piastri and Max Verstappen, get himself in second position, stayed close to Lando Norris, but was unable to catch Lando Norris all through, but he was really close to him. Looking at any mistake McLaren will make, they can take advantage, because that is Formula One. Anything can happen in motorsport. He was staying close to pounce on any mistake and make the best of it. But unfortunately, that McLaren was out of reach, especially the second stint. They were just out of reach. The McLaren just executed a perfect race today through Lando Norris. So Charles Leclerc started 19th on the grid. Charles Leclerc is the driver of the day. If they're asking for driver of the day, himself and Lewis deserve driver of the day. But Charles Leclerc starting 19th. By the end of lap 1, he was already in 9th position, gained 10 position in one lap. And how did he do that? He made the right decisions. He was in the right place at the right time on the first lap. Trying to overtake, sweeping through turn 1. He saw the accident. He was able to go outside, come back inside and gain a whole lot of track position. And that was how he kept on moving up, because he had already gained 10th position. 10th position is over 10 seconds in Formula 1. And by the time he was able to gain that, pushed himself up. And that was it. He came third at the end of the day. What a beautiful drive he had. He came third. Lewis Hamilton started 16th, ended 4th. What a ride he had. He started on hard tires, changed to medium tires. He was the only driver that started on hard tires and he changed to medium. And how did that help him? He knew he would be able to go long in the race. Now, going long in the race means he will sacrifice close to 10 laps of the tire life on the first stint, which really did not work for him, because the high fuel on hard tire for like 10 laps, Lewis Hamilton could not really progress. He was just in the mix. Though from 16th, he was able to gain 4 positions for the first 2 laps, but he was there for a long time until the hard tire came alive. And when the tire came alive, he was able to start moving forward. When the medium tire users ahead of him were pitting, he knew he would have a fast car towards the end. He still maintained the pace. Even if he had waited 2 more laps, he could still have overtaken Charles Leclerc at the end of the race. But he was able to stay in the race, stay there, stay focused, be where he was meant to be, and that he did. All through maintaining his pace. And when the opportunity comes, he changed on to the medium tires and he was able to start lapping. He overtook until he came 4th. What a beautiful race he did today. In short, the whole race today was all about Lewis Hamilton, Lewis Hamilton. Before the race, the FIA and F1 said that even if he didn't come third or come second or come fourth, if he didn't get a podium, he would have a space. He would be interviewed differently. He will have everything, because he's just leaving Mercedes. He's not leaving F1. He's just leaving Mercedes. That is the impact Lewis Hamilton has made on the sport. He's just leaving Mercedes to another team. And F1, everybody is just surrounding him, as in giving him the best time of his life. For me, I think no honor is like that. A 7-time world champion leaving a team, and F1 is just aroused about his decision, giving him a big farewell from Mercedes to Ferrari. What a man he is, what a driver, what a person he is. He has really given everything, given himself, given all to the sport, given back to the hood, given back to the street, and he really deserved everything he got today. He's not yet done in F1. He's still going to have 2, 3, 4 more years in F1. What if when he's leaving, what kind of grand reception will he be having? A departing, as in, it's going to be huge if he's having this at the end of his tenure in Mercedes. What next for him in Ferrari is going to be huge, I believe. But he drove a beautiful race today. The best overtake of the day was the overtake on his teammate on that corner. He really drove it. George Russell was trying to block him, because that's the last place he could have overtaken George Russell. But what did he do? He took his time on that turn, on that parabolica. He was able to turn and get ahead of George Russell and come 4th in the race, which I think will tell George Russell now that all through the 3 years going into Abu Dhabi, they were on the same point, 685 points. But leaving Abu Dhabi, Lewis Hamilton got 3 points or 2 points better than him, which means he will still, one way or the other, have to admit that Lewis Hamilton is better than him, even with Mercedes. Qualifying don't give points. Remember, qualifying don't give points. Races give points. And I think Lewis Hamilton's legacy with Mercedes is an outstanding one. It's a perfect one. And I think 12 years together, ending in a beautiful way. What a man, what a team, what a race he did for them. So George Russell too drove a beautiful race. George Russell started 6th and ended the race 5th. Just 1 position gain. In the race, it was a beautiful race he drove. And at the end of the day, clapping for his teammate that really deserved the whole spotlight today. Lewis Hamilton deserved the whole spotlight. But what a driver George Russell was. What a race he drove. And thanks to him, Mercedes. Now to Max Verstappen, the man of the moment. Welcome the man of the moment. Max Verstappen did Max Verstappen thing at the beginning of the race, trying to jump because he wanted to win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, to have the same number of wins with Lewis Hamilton, and consecutively could have been a big thing for him, but he missed it because he had a collision with Piastri and got a 10-second penalty, and that really ruined his race. And I think next year we'll see much of this collision because Max Verstappen would have a tighter grid and he's not going to be funny next year, tell you. But what a driver he was this year, winning the championship in Las Vegas, fourth-time world champion, cementing his legacy for the future, to tell people that he didn't come to Formula 1 to play, but he came to win. What a driver he was. Today, he maintained his pace, kept composure, even after the 10-second penalty and the mistake he made, kept composure, and he really drove a beautiful race. After that, his overtaking were on point. He didn't bully anybody. He just kept his head straight and he drove a beautiful race right from there. And that I think I appreciate for him. Pierre Gasly, what an awakening for Pierre Gasly at the end of the season. Pierre Gasly really came up at the end of the season, drove beautifully, stayed focused, took that Alpine to another level. During the race, he had some skirmishes with George Russell. He stood right ahead. He was able to stay right in front of him, made sure he destroyed some part of George Russell's race, like he did to other competitors in Qatar and in Las Vegas. In the last 5 races of this season, Pierre Gasly has just been outstanding. He's done great things with that Alpine that was off form, off performance everywhere at the beginning of the season. But what a man Pierre Gasly was. Drove a beautiful race, got some maximum point to take his team to 6th position in the Constructors Championship. What a man he was. Nico Hülkenberg, with the help of his teammate and with his own help, did beautiful jobs early this season, and closing into the season, he never relented. Though he's going to Sauber next year, but Nico Hülkenberg drove beautifully for Haas. You won't believe he's leaving Haas the way he drove for them. To Kevin Magnussen, his teammate also, you won't believe Kevin Magnussen will be leaving Haas. He really supported his team, drove a beautiful race. At a point, the qualifying was massive in the last 2 races. Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen, they did beautiful jobs for the Haas team, and I know Haas will never forget them in the future because they have really laid the foundation for the Haas to be able to progress. That's for Nico Hülkenberg and Magnussen, and I wish Magnussen greater things in his endeavor as he moves away from Haas. Though I expect him to be back in F1 by 2026 with other teams coming in as F1 because Magnussen is a terrific driver. Hülkenberg still goes to Sauber, he still remains in F1. Fernando Alonso, he really wanted to get a point and he got a maximum 2 points to end the race. What a race. He gave his that house to make sure he did a good race at the end of the day, and that I think Aston Martin will never forget him for. Next year is another year for them, though they are moving to Honda engine in 2026, and I think that will be a big flop for them, though they have Andre Newey that really understand Honda engine. But remember, this is a new generation car that we're going to in 2026, so they may have like 2-3 years to catch up, and that would really take them back. But will they be able to still challenge for some maximum points or some good competition? Yeah, let's see what happens to them in the next coming year. But Alonso did a good job. Piastri, after the collision with Max Verstappen at the beginning of the race, he had his own collision. He went to the back, he had a collision with Colapinto, and that collision also fetched him 10 seconds penalty, and that also ruined his own race because he could have come in like 7th or 8th in the race. But unfortunately, that also ruined his own race, the collision he had with Colapinto ahead of him. But he drove a beautiful race. He ended the race well, and that really, I think, gave him a good stint to get at least 1 point for the team. If he didn't even get a point, they've won the championship already with his teammate winning the race. But he scampered for the point. He got 1 point for the race, and that is enough for him, which makes it a good one for him. Alex Albon, what a driver he has been for Williams all through the season. Colapinto came challenging. He really stood his ground. He came back, he woke up, and he did a good job this season for that Williams team. What a driver he is. He was unable to challenge for points today. Though he came up 11th, he came up short against Piastri that is having a fast car. But what else could he have done? He did a good job. That's for Alex Albon. Yuki Tsunoda, the best VCAB or RV driver in the past few years. He has really matured. He has really driven the car. But the problem is, I'm not sure he's going to get that seat in Red Bull because Red Bull, Yuki Tsunoda is not in their plan. He's a Honda person. He's in Honda plan, but not in Red Bull plan. And now that Red Bull has their own powertrain that is outside Honda's speculation, so it's not their problem, I believe. But Yuki Tsunoda, what a driver he was this season, he has really improved, and I think he deserved that seat if they are going to sack Sergio Perez. That is if. but it's all looking like Sergio Perez has had his last race. Let me talk about Sergio Perez. The first lap shenanigans, like what happened to him in Qatar, the car failed. He had collisions and that ended his race on lap 1. And Sergio Perez, that could be his last race in F1 or presently. I wish him good luck because he needs to get a reset. Red Bull had been not kind to him in the last 2 years. He had really pushed since 2023, but I'm not sure that car is right for him. That car is not looking like a car for him. He has struggled in the Red Bull. Even when the car was underperforming, the car was more underperforming under him. And I think he needs a reset to get his mind up, to know what he will be doing and where he will be going next. If he still wants to race in F1, I believe he wants to race, but his head is messed up. I think all these things will be affecting his mental health. Last race, everything messed up for him. The last 2 races of the season. What else can he do? He's just a man dangling. That's what I see him as. A man dangling without anything, just dangling like this. In the Drivers' Championship, he came 8th position. Sergio Perez, what's next for you? Next year, we know what is next for Sergio Perez. Zhou Guanyu, the last 2 races have been good for him. Claimed 4 points in last race. This race, he was able to come in 13th. Did a beautiful job. Was calculative, speculative, and just in the race. And I think all that he's doing is to get a ride or possibly a reserve driver position for Ferrari, which would help him in the future. I think still in F1 as a reserve driver doing something, he can quickly get a seat if any team is coming into F1. He has proven himself in the last few races of the season that he deserves a seat in F1. Jack Doohan will be the second driver of Alpine next season. He's been building all through the weekend, and I think the race don't really speak for itself because he's not having the right balance under him. Though he had some good overtakes and he really helped his teammate at a point in the race. But we'll see much about Jack Doohan next season, the New Zealander. Let's see what he can do in F1 and let's see what Alpine can be in next year, because I think towards the end of this season they've really learned a lot about what they need to design. So let's see what the car will do for them, what the car will be to them, and how they will be able to translate the performances they will be able to gain in wind tunnel into race. Let's see what happens to them next year. Lance Stroll, at the point, he's been having a off and on season. I think people think Lance Stroll does not deserve to be in F1. His father has spent a lot of money. Lance Stroll is trying. He's not a spectacular person. He's not a divine person that, has this divine talent, has this special talent in F1 like Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Nico Rosberg. He's not like them, but he has this keen eye and this energy to stay in F1, to just want to do his best to drive, to be the best. But unfortunately, F1 or motorsport is not a child's play, and sometimes it will mess up with your head. Sometimes it will do you good. But I think still being in F1, doing that wonderful job he's doing for his team. Let's see what happens to him. But this last race was not really good for him. He has won F1 races, not by chance, but through his own hard work. And I believe he still has something to prove in future. But what a driver he is. Kevin Magnussen had a tango with Bottas. I want to talk about Bottas now. Bottas, wow, what a driver he was. Coming into today, he really said it all about Sauber, that he made a mistake coming to Sauber. Immediately Fred Vasseur left in 2022. Sauber went down trajectorically. Could not have joined them. But which team would he have joined and he would still have stayed on that team? Maybe maybe Williams. He had come back to Williams. But unfortunately, he didn't go back. And I think what next for him? We are looking at him getting a reserve role at Mercedes and possibly jumping back into F1 in future. But what a drive he had today. He had a tangle with Kevin Magnussen. His Sauber locked up and that put him out of the race totally. And that also messed up Kevin Magnussen's race. Kevin Magnussen could have come in 10th or possibly close to his teammates because he really did a lot of work for them. But Kevin Magnussen through this weekend had really messed a lot of people's race up. But that is motorsport, that is F1. He did his own job. He did a perfect job. And, well, I don't blame him. To Liam Lawson, the star boy for Red Bull was out. He's a star boy. Motorsport will disappoint you. If you don't have it during qualifying, you have it during race. Except you are lucky. Liam Lawson, in the last 3 races of the season, I have not seen why Red Bull should sign him or put him in Perez's seat. People may not agree with me, but I don't see it. I still think with everything he's done, I've been racing Perez in Las Vegas, racing Perez in Mexico, everywhere. He has not proven to me that he deserves that seat. Yuki Tsunoda still deserves the seat better than him. He has not proven to me, I'm serious, that he deserves the seat. He has a lot of work to do, a lot of learning to do. He's aggressive, yes. He has this mentality of Max Verstappen. I think that is what Red Bull needed. But your mentality might be rugged, but your winning ability might not be rugged. And I think his winning ability, for me, he does not have a rugged winning ability. He needs that rugged winning ability to prove himself that he deserves the seat in Red Bull. But I don't see that yet. See, seriously, I don't see it. Cola Pinto. Well, he came to put in for Logan Sargent's job. He got the job and he saw how hot the seat was. The destruction of cars in the last two races, or in the last few races for Williams, I think is a big headache for them. And going into the last race, after changing their gearboxes, had another gearbox issue during the race because Piastri had to give him a boot from behind. And I knew from that point that they wouldn't be able to survive it. He had to retire the car because I think they had some damages, and the damages would have been done to the gearbox when Piastri had a collision with him. But Colapinto coming into F1 next year, I think after 2 or 3 races, he had some good shows. People started saying that yes, he's a good driver, but he's an average driver, not a spectacular driver. And I think he still needs a lot of hard work. Driving is more than just saying I can drive, I know how to drive well, because you've overtaken some people on the track. When the going gets tough, how do you cope with it? And Sergio Perez, I hope he comes back into F1 because he's a good driver. He has really proven himself in F1, but motorsports will disappoint you. The race in Abu Dhabi ends the season, and we'll give you more highlights on how the season pans out, how Max Verstappen won, what they need to do next year, what each teams need to do next year to be in the race. And meet you for the first official preview and prediction next season in Melbourne, Australia, next year, March, to start the season in 2025. But up until then, we have a lot of videos, a lot of shorts, a lot of things to keep you updated about F1. Please subscribe, like, share. I love you guys. Keep the motorsport space open. X-Kart race is coming up in Shagamu, 21st of December. Please don't miss it. You miss it, you miss out. It's going to be 2 races in a day. Beautiful racing, beautiful challenges, off-road racing. You don't want to miss it. I love you guys. Bye. Chill.